Hey card makers, it's Rachel at From Moments to Milestones, and I'm gonna put together our latest card kit. This is a 3-card kit featuring G45's latest paper collection called Bird Watcher. And we also have a stamp set, a newer release from Stampendous that we used. So these are the instructions, pictures, written instructions, and I have a list of the items I used to create these cards. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with From Our Nest to Yours. Got lots of little bits and pieces here. So we're going to start with these two images. You have a bird and a nest, and these are stamped on watercolor paper. And so we're going to go ahead and watercolor those. I'm going to use Distress inks and a watercolor pen today to do that. Okay, so I have my watercolor brush. There's water in the barrel, and just squeeze and the water comes out. And then what I'm going to do, I have a laminated piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and put some of the Distress ink colors on there. When I'm at home, sometimes I'll just use an acrylic block, but this way you can see the colors I'm using. It shows up better with the white. So I'm going to put those down, and then I'm just going to start with this color here. This is Speckled Egg, and I'm just going to pick some up, and I'm going to put a light wash of that color over the whole bird. Okay, and then to clean it out, I have a scrap piece of watercolor paper. I'm just gonna do that until it runs clean. And now I'm gonna pick up, this is Broken China, so a little bit brighter. And I'm gonna put this on kind of the ends of the wing. Now, if you want the color to be really, really vibrant, you want to use less water. If you want it more diluted, obviously use more water. I also went in with a little bit of black soot, and I'm going to give some shadow down here in the belly area. And I also have some around his face. And these watercolors, as they dry, the color will dry back a little. So even if you think you may have too much, you might want to hold off on diluting it, wait and see how it dries, and you can just keep layering it up. So this is Faded Jeans, a little bit deeper color, and I'm going to come in the bottom of the wing. And I also have, I'm going to put some on the belly. And a little on his back. There's really no right or wrong here. It's just what you like. I'm going to add a little bit more black down in here. And around his face, that was a little too light. All right, so my bird, I'm happy with that. The only other thing is his little beak. I used fossilized amber. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that right there and pick that up and get his beak. And then we have the nest. So for that, you could do two things. You could use a dauber and go in that way, but since it's on watercolor paper, I am going to use this is Gathered Twigs. And I'm just gonna go in with that. Now Now for these portions here, I'm just gonna get a little messy. This piece will have to be fussy cut. There's no die that comes with the nest. So now if this nest isn't, you want to use some different shades of brown. Might go in with a little bit of black in here just to darken that up. All right, I think that looks good. Set that aside. We can use that again later. I'm gonna set those aside to dry. And now we have lots of greenery and flowers too. We need to color and shape. So I am going to start with my flowers. So we have, I think you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You should have 10 flowers. And for some reason, I think I may only have 9. 2, 3, yeah. I think I'm missing a small one. Nope, yeah, I am missing a small one, but we'll improvise. It'll be fine. I used spun sugar and worn lipstick on the flowers. So what I did is I have a dauber here. I'm gonna start with the spun sugar. And I'm just gonna do the edges. So I'm just doing the tips of each petal. I'll do that on all of them, and I'm leaving the centers white. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'm just gonna clean off my dauber a little bit, and then I'm gonna go into the worn lipstick, which is a little bit darker, and I'm just gonna also do the tips. All right, so your flower is gonna end up looking like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish coloring all my flowers, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have all of my flowers colored, and now what we need to do is shape them. So I have a flower shaping mat here, and I'm gonna flip them all upside down. And if you want, you can spray them lightly with some water. It does help break down the paper a little bit easier. So I'm gonna do that quick. I just have a little water bottle here. And I have some shaping tools, and I am going to, these bigger flowers, I'm going to use this big end. I believe this is a 5mm. And I'm just gonna push and pull in towards the center. Okay, and you can make a small circle in the center if you want, not necessary on these bigger ones. So pull them all in. So I'll just do these 3 here, and then I'll finish off camera. And then I'm gonna flip them over, and then I'm gonna gently press in the center and give it a good press. Now, if you really want to punch it up, you can use a smaller stylus. This is a 3-point, so I think I'll do that in the centers, and we'll do all that, and then we're going to layer them up. So it's really how you want your preference. You can look at the picture in your kit, but it's kind of the biggest to the next one, and then it kind of goes in that direction. Now I'm going to be a short one, so I'm just going to use one by itself. So you should end up with 5 2-layered flowers, however you want to do that. So I will get mine finished shaped, and I'll be right back. Okay, my flowers are shaped, and now we're going to move on to the greenery. I'll set those aside. I do need to layer those, but I will do that when I put my card together. So now you have several different varieties. So you have this twiggy looking thing, that's gonna go in the center of that big leaf. This reminds me of a fern. Then you have this and this. So what we're gonna do is scratch a piece of paper here, put down, and we're going to use a dauber and distress ink and get those inked up. So I have mowed lawn, I'm gonna start with that first, and rustic wilderness are the two greens I'm gonna use. I'm gonna start with mowed lawn. Just get your dauber inky, and circular motions help it spread well. Now, so these are very delicate, so it's almost better to pounce on these, as you don't want to rip them. All right, so that's the mowed lawn, and then you have this twiggy piece. You can do this in green as well, but I did mine in brown, so I'm going to grab that quick. This is gathered twigs, and we'll just that one. Okay, and now I'm going to move from the mowed lawn into the rustic wilderness, which is a much deeper green, and kind of, I won't cover the whole thing. I'm going to come up from the bottom on this one and just kind of create some little bit of dimension and shading. And this one I'm going to come up from the bottom. Okay. Do the same on here, very gently. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to come from the center and move out on both sides. Okay, and then this one, I'll come from the bottom again. Okay, so those are done. If you want, on this card here, I inked the edges of everything, including the greenery. So we can do that now, or we can do it when we put the card together. I think I'm going to do it now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and layer that piece on there quickly. Where my good tweezers are, but these will work. And some glue. That will dry clear, so we'll just leave that to dry while we start the assembly on the rest of the card. Well, actually we have one more thing to ink here. So we have this burlap piece, which is here and here, you can see. So what I used on that is scattered straw and a little bit of gathered twigs. So scattered straw, and I just oops, that's all right. We're gonna cut it up anyway. So just lighter in some spots, darker in the others. Doesn't have to be completely covered. And then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the gathered twigs as well. I'm gonna come in from the edges mostly. And a little here and there. And that piece is done. All right, so now we're about ready to put this card together. We need to, I just found my little egg, and this needs watercolored as well. So I'm gonna take my watercolor pen. And you make these any colors you want. I just use the brown, so I'm just gonna take a little brown, and I'm just gonna, that's all I'm gonna do. And if you want to add a touch of blue, you could do that. I'm not getting any. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to fussy cut this nest out, and then we can come back and put our card together. I got my nest fussy cut, and while I was off camera, I went ahead and inked the edges of all my papers and die cuts and all that. So we're ready to put it together. So first thing, find the white card base and our brown cardstock, making sure our card is opening the correct way. I'm going to put down adhesive. And put that cardstock on. Okay, next comes the feather paper. There is script in the back, so if you can figure out what it says, you can put it right side up. That goes centered. You'll have a small border there. And now you have this pink pattern paper strip. So put that down. And then what we're going to do, you have these two stamps. These are going to go down here in the corner. So I'll go ahead and put those down quick. All right, and then you have this burlap piece. So what we're going to do, I'm going to kind of use this paper as a guide. This is going to go about right in here. And so I just put my thumb about where I want to cut it, and I'm just going for it. That piece is going to go there. And then what I'm going to do is just cut this one in half. And one of them is going to go down here. And I'm going to put the other one. Now, if you don't like that sharp cut edge, you can go in and try to make it look as organic as you want. But really, it's going to be covered up. I'm going to go back with, since I cut that, just put some more, hide my cut lines. That is going to go up here. Okay. So I get them where I want them. I'm just going to put some adhesive on the back. All right. So there's no perfect way to put that down. Really, you're just going to see bits and pieces of it. So don't stress out about it. So this piece now is going to go down. Put some adhesive on there. And keeping my nest in mind, I don't want to put it clear over here so my nest is going to hang off my card. So that's about where I want it. And it's down. So this is going to go over that. And I have that up on foam. Okay, so my little frame's ready to go, and I'm just going to pop that right on top of that blue collage paper. And that's ready to go. Now you have this from Our Nest Yours. I took mine off camera. I used the gathered twigs and the dauber, and I made it a little bit darker. It was originally this color, but that will help it stand out on the back of that paper. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. You might need to tuck that little go. That's down. And then what I'm going to do next is put my greenery down. So I have this large one here, and it may have actually been behind. No, what? Maybe like that. So we're going to put it like that. And then we have one over here, one here, and I think on this one, I'm actually going to cut this one in half to give me some more. So I'm going to put that one up there. and this one here. So one, keeping in mind our bird nest, that always helps too, the placement a little bit. Maybe this was the one I cut. I know I cut one of them. Let's do this one, this thinner one. And I'm gonna put one here. And I'll have the other one coming out kind of there. There we go. I don't want to cover up my sentiment. Okay. And then this one here. And I'm actually going to keep that. I should have kept that together. No one will know. There we go. All right, so now, before I put this nest on, you can see, I don't know if you can see in the light or not, I have glitter, the same glitter in the center of the flowers that's on the nest. So I'm gonna do that first because I think it'll be easier. So I am using these elements and the colors ochre. And I'm just gonna take my wet glue and just kind of mimic the lines. I'm not covering it completely. Very light lines. And then I'm just going to, actually don't need that, I'm just gonna pour it over. Tap it off. And there's the nest. Very pretty. Okay. So I'm going to put glue here and here. And then I'm gonna put a piece of foam because it's definitely gonna stick up there. There's the nest. And then we have the little bird eggs. I'm gonna glue those in. And our bird, which is also gonna need a little bit of foam as well. Let's see where he might need it. And I go about right there. So I'm gonna tuck a piece. There. Wet adhesive on him. And there's the bird. All right, just gonna hold him down while he dries. That glitter is making it a little difficult to stick at the moment. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is add our flowers. So this is just, once you have things placed, just kind of, I'm going to be short a flower, so I'm just going to use this one by itself, which you are free to do. If you want more flowers, you can definitely play around with that. And here and here. Okay. Put a dot of glue inside, offset my petals, and use my stylus to hold that for a second. Next one. These two are the same size, which you can totally do, but I want to put a smaller one in there. So we'll do that. And this last one. All right, so those are ready to go on. So I'm going to put glue on the back, a generous amount. one over here. This little one. There. And lastly, we'll just do this little guy all by himself. Actually, I think I'm going to put it right there. All right, so to finish this, I am going to add that same glitter to the inside of all my flowers. Some glue right there. Okay. This time I use a spoon. All right. I am going to, there's a little bit of that. If you don't like where it is, now's the time to move it. My glue kind of drug a little there, I think. There we go. Okay, so there you have it. That card is complete, from our nest to yours. So our next card is Sending You Hugs and Prayers. And this card has quite a bit of fussy cutting and a little bit of watercolor. We'll start with the watercolor quickly. It's just the birdhouse. And I use the, put this off to the side. I use the gathered twigs and little black soot. And I use candied apple on the roof. Wasn't super happy with that. If you like that, it's fine. I'm gonna try black today so you can see the difference. I think that might be a better choice. So. And I am being a little messy. I'm going to cut away the white when I'm done here, so you don't have to worry about the lines too much. All right, so that's the brown. And I'm going to add some black soot just for some variation, some shadow. I need a little bit more. Definitely put some on the side here. And I'm just gonna follow some of the lines. And I'm gonna get on the inside. Kind of forgot that portion around the heart there. All right, that looks good. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do the black on the top. And that looks more gray, so I want that color more intense. I am going to clean out my brush and really kind of pull the moisture out of it. Just pick it up and you'll be able to see how much darker it's going on. Okay, done with that. So I'm gonna quickly just cut away the white, and then after we're done cutting away the white, we will go with black soot. We're gonna ink the edges of everything, and that'll cover up if you can see any white. And I'm not gonna worry about the bottom. We're gonna cover that part up anyway. All right, so in your kit remaining, everyone's might look a little different. Everybody should have this here, either 3 or 4 flowers together. You may have a couple of these, but I think everybody kind of have this, and then you're gonna have some sort of scrap with extra flowers on it. So what you need to do is fussy cut these out. I cut this out as a whole piece. You're free to cut each individual one out, whatever works for you. What we're gonna do is layer them in behind that circle. So whatever suits you is how you can do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my fussy cutting done, and then I'll come back. So I came back on to kind of show you me wrapping up my fussy cutting. So I just wanted to tell you that I love fussy cutting the graphic 45 papers. And the reason why is there's so much kind of going on around some of this stuff and it's outlined in black, that when it's all done and cut, nobody's gonna know what you left, what you didn't leave, what you decided you didn't want. See, like right here, this flower goes in here, but I'm just not gonna cut it out. I'm just gonna go, and honestly, you're not even probably gonna see this bird, so you can cut him away. But if there's goofy lines you don't want to cut, you can't tell right now what I did not cut. And you can see that I left some portions of flower, I left some stems, I left some greenery, more greenery. So it can you can get every nook and cranny, and if that's what you want to do, please feel free. But if you don't, it can happen really quickly and nobody's going to know, because what we're going to do is take this black soot, and I'm just gonna go around, and now you can't even tell where there's those spots where I didn't cut right on the black, or I cut away something that was there that you can kind of, hey, something looks like it's missing. You can't even tell anymore. It just looks, you can kind of see the difference. So don't stress yourself out about the fussy cutting. It can go very quick. There's jagged edges right there. I just cut a straight line, because especially on this bottom portion, which you're not gonna see, you don't have to fussy cut any of it if you don't want. Okay, so those are done. And we'll tell you, if you have this 4 flower grouping, this last flower, I'm gonna cut away because I know that it was too long. See, it just goes about right here, and then I'm going to tuck that one in elsewhere. So I'm just going to go in and ink where I cut. And you can't tell that part of that was behind that flower. So that's the nice thing about it. So now that all my fussy cutting's done and ready to go, we're going to start putting the card together. I did ink the edges, so I guess I will do that quickly. Kind of helps everything tie together. And I'm not going to worry about the inside of that circle because we're going to put that frame over it, and really the black paper, it's not going to show up. So that's all we have to do. I am going to do the birdhouse to cover up my cut lines. Okay, and so step 1 will be to put the black cardstock onto your white card base. Okay, and then this piece, I have my flowers in the background going vertical. If you want to put them this way, you can too. I'll do that on this one just so you can see the difference. And then I noticed when I was making instructions that this piece is not cut correctly. So an easy fix is going to be to put adhesive just on the top and the bottom and the sides of the vellum. And you're going to lay that right over that piece. You don't want any adhesive in the middle or it's going to show. Okay. And then I'm going to take scissors and just cut that away. All right. And then you're going to take this piece with the vellum and stick it on the top portion of your card with an even border all the way around. That piece is going to show through the circle. Okay, and then this piece is going to go over like that. All right, now I can see a little bit of my adhesive showing, so I think if I would have done that again, that I would use wet glue and a thin line. But really, this is all going to be covered. You're not going to be able to see. So there's two different ways you can do this. So you can just kind of use this as a guide, put adhesive on the back, get it where you want it, and put it down. I'm going to show you what I did. I put adhesive around the circle on the back, and then I'm going to take these. Actually, I want this one. Really wouldn't matter, but I'm going to take this one and put it right where I want it. Okay. Press it down, and then I have this little portion here. I'm going to go in and cut that off. And I could possibly use that, so I'm going to set that aside. Okay, and that's the reason why I cut that little flower off there, because it's totally hidden and we want to be able to use it. So like this. Now I'm going to put a line of adhesive on the bottom of my birdhouse so I can stick that in where I want it. It would be about right there. Okay, and then these extra scraps are for you. A lot of you may just have one single like half flower, and that'll be enough for right there. So I'm gonna actually just cut that one away, and there's maybe a little bit more, some adhesive back there, and I'm gonna put that one right there, and then this little piece, put some on the front of it, and I'm gonna tuck it in right there. Okay, so if you have more flowers, I mean, you can tuck them in wherever you want. You could put some more back here. It's really up to you. I am gonna just leave those off and call that good. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put adhesive on the back. Okay. And leaving the black border. There we go. Okay, so our last steps are going to be these birds, which I dressed up with a little bit of Wink of Stella or a Nuvo or a Lawn Fawn glitter pen. So I'm going to use the Lawn Fawn glitter pen and just go over them. Actually, I have that one upside down. They should be going one way and one the other. All right, let those dry what we put on our frame. So that's just gonna go right over the opening. Okay, and then our little birds. I have this one flying here. So put some, oops, glue there. And I have this one down here. A little crazy with the glue. All right, and then this last one, I'm going to tuck him right in there in those flowers. All right, and that completes the sending you hugs and prayers. All right, our third and final card, a little birdie told me, and you're free to put whatever you want inside. It's your birthday, you're not feeling well. So that's the card. It's a slimline card. Into this one. All right. So we have some more flower shaping and watercoloring to do. So we'll go ahead and start with the watercolor. Okay, so I covered the whole bird. I'm gonna get my palette going here. So some more gathered twigs, some mowed lawn, a little bit of rustic wilderness, all the same colors we've been using. And a little bit of worn lipstick. And we have black. I'm gonna just put a little bit more of that down. Okay, so I'm gonna start by putting down, get it nice and wet, a layer of the brown. Okay, so I have the brown down, and now I'm gonna kind of put a strip, you can see here, kind of coming off of his eyes, got this little rounded area here, and then on the tips of his wings, I'm gonna put green. So I'm gonna go in with the mowed lawn first. I'm just gonna kind of follow those lines. Okay, and then this more intense green will really brighten it up, or darken it up, I guess. And I like to put down a layer, kind of let it dry, see if I'm happy with it, because it does dry back. And you can always come in and make the color more intense. Okay, and now we have some black soot, and I'm gonna do that same thing from the last bird and put that on the top of his head. I'm gonna put a little where the colors come together there, and under his belly again. And then got some of this worn lipstick. I'm really gonna water it down. I don't want it to be too bright. And I'm gonna come in here just on like the breast of his belly there. And we got a little bit on the back of his head. Okay. And other than, I think I want a little bit more intense green. So I'll let that dry just a little bit. And while we do that, I'll come back and add the color I want. Oh, I also need to put in his beak real quick. Okay. Then we're gonna do the nest again, same way. little black. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go back in and just, I have a pretty dry brush here. And heavy color and just get the tips. And just by that little bit of shading, it kind of intensifies all the green. And then I may put a little bit more brown down here. And a little black. All right. I think I had black there where it meets the color on his wing, so I'm going to add that. Okay, I think that's good. I could fuss with that all day, but I think that is a pretty bird. All right, so next we have our flowers, and these are really a bold choice on the flowers. So if you're not so into that bright color as trying to pick up, there's definitely hints of that in the paper. You could really use any color. You could use pink, the orange, yellow, and I'm gonna go ahead and do what I did there on the card. I'm gonna put those down because I'm gonna completely cover them, and I'm going to use candied apple. And, okay. And I'm just gonna and I am gonna put a little bit of gathered twigs on the ends just to kind of darken it, soften it a little bit, distress it really. Those are done, so I will take a little bit of the brown. If I can find my dauber, there it is. And just come in. On the tips. We will call that good. And then what we need to do, you can see what I'm doing here, we are going to do the branches. And so for those, I use the gathered twigs again. And a little bit of black soot. So we'll start with the gathered twigs. Make sure they're right side up, okay? I'm gonna use a little black soot just to darken them up a little. Just varying spots. So those are done and ready to go. I'm gonna fussy cut my nest quickly, and then we can put our card together. Okay, so we're gonna start. We have this paper. We're gonna use this. This would be a pretty choice as well. If you like that, your bird would pop. Whatever you choose. I'm gonna use that and just put some adhesive on the back of that, and we're gonna put it on our card and we're gonna center it. It's gonna have a big white border. There is script in the background, so there kind of is a right side up, so if you want to pay attention to that. And then this is gonna go over the top, and I did use foam. All right, so I'm pulling off the backing, and we're gonna place this. Now these are binoculars on that. I'm not sure that there's really a right side or wrong side. I mean, there's one upside down. There's this one's going the other way here. So whatever looks pleasing to you or whatever's on your particular piece. And you're just gonna have the thinnest white border. get it where I want it on this side and slowly come that way. Okay? So that's down. And now we're going to place, I'm gonna do that same thing with the glitter before we do that down. So I'm gonna put glitter on my nest. Same thing. And now we're gonna put our branches. So we're just gonna kind of tuck it in there like so, and it's gonna come this way. We're gonna flip the other one around, and it's gonna come that way, okay? So I'm just gonna put some glue on the back. All right, like so. And then our nest is gonna sit on top there. And I'm gonna put some foam back there because it's definitely gonna be sticking up. Okay, so glue on the bottom. Put that down. And then we need to shape our flower. Well, I'm gonna put the bird on, and then we need to shape our flowers and put those on, and we'll be done with the card. Okay, so get out my shaping mat. Those flowers down, give them a squirt. Shape. Where is the small, oh, there it is. All right, those guys are ready. And I have one here and here. And there we are. So let's put some glue down and get those down, and we'll have this card finished as well. All right, just one last step. I'm gonna put the frills in the center of this card. Now you could go ahead and use that yellow glitter again. Today I'm gonna use Espresso Yourself. It's like a brown shade of frills. here is my little spoon. I like to let them sit for a few seconds before I tap it off. Let that glue really get adhered. All right, and that does it for this card and for this video. I did not put the little birdie told me. I just realized that. That is in your kit. You will need to cut it down, cut the banner ends, and stick it here. Or if you want to leave it off and you can make this your own with some different sentiment, you're free to do that as well. So that being said, thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this card class. We will see you next time.